Welcome to 21st Century Life here at the Coffee House. Unfortunately, global warming won't go away just because there was an inconvenient election in Massachusetts. 2009 was the second warmest year on record. The years 2000 to 2009 were the warmest decade ever measured by scientists. But support for the so-called cap-and-trade global warming bill in the U.S. Senate has dwindled in both parties since the election of Scott Brown, which begs the question, if not this bill, then what on global warming? Here to discuss the old and the new on climate policy in Washington, D.C. is John Passacantando, former director of Greenpeace USA and current president of our Next Economy LLC. Welcome, John, to the Coffee House.
Thanks, Mike.
Recently, there was an editorial cartoon in the Washington Post that showed a tombstone in a cemetery, and on the tombstone it said, "Cap and Trade, died 2010. Do you believe that this bill that was passed by the House in June that would cap carbon and allow Wall Street trading and the rest, is it really dead?
I think that approach to dealing with global warming is dead. I think it was the culmination in a long history of environmental solutions that unfortunately became increasingly complex. And very smart people put this stuff together. But the approach that was taken that brought us this cap-and-trade bill was one that had so much politics in it. It was trying to buy off the nuclear industry, the coal industry, various key democratic states. It was trying to buy off the utilities.
And by this, they got subsidies. It's like 1,400 pages long, very, very complex, and every interest, every fossil fuel interest, you're saying got some kind of gift or subsidy out of it.
And even the agriculture interests got a big gift out of it. Worse still, the Wall Street trading houses were for it because it was going to involve this whole complex trading regime in carbon credits, something that the authors of the bill couldn't even understand and couldn't guarantee wouldn't create another credit bubble like we saw with the housing derivatives. So we need to solve global warming. This was the wrong way to go.
But you've made the point in the past. I mean, Congress has passed some good environmental bills, the Clean Air Act, getting lead out of gasoline. If it worked in the past and we have cleaner rivers and cleaner air, why can't it work with global warming?
I think the biggest difference in these approaches is that, say you want to stop ozone depletion, you've got to get certain chemicals out of the economy, the ozone depleting chemicals. But you're only dealing with a handful of manufacturers. People were making the spray cans or air conditioners, that sort of thing. It was okay to sit down with those industries, give them something they needed, strike some deal with them so they'd use an alternative. When you're talking about global warming, you're talking about fossil fuels. You're talking about the energy that is used to fuel every aspect of our economy, of our lives, our businesses, our small businesses, our schools, our homes. So when you start trading there, when you start giving favors to this group, and then the farmers, and then the oil guys, and then the gas guys, and then the nuclear guys, before you know it, there's nothing left. There's nothing more to give away.
So the scale of the problem sort of outpaced our political habits. You're saying that you think that there's that something is coming that's more populist oriented, and you've even said it. You sort of see it with the teabagger movement and with the
Yes.
The conservatives. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is, and I certainly don't mean to say that the teabaggers support a simpler way of solving global warming. It may unfortunately even be a litmus test for a teabagger to not believe in global warming. But one of the things the teabaggers are tapping into that I think is very real is that they don't trust Washington. They feel like increasingly these laws, whether it was the health care bill or the global warming cap and trade legislation, thousands of pages long, they feel like we don't trust Washington, something's happening there, I'm getting ripped off again. In order to tap into that kind of populist power, a political leader has to say, how can I take this thing down to its basics? How can I make it simple? All I'm trying to do is reduce greenhouse gases in the economy. Is there a simpler, fairer, and more transparent way to do that without needing 1,000 pages and buy-offs to all the industries that tell me they're going to oppose it unless they get something? I think there is.
Well, one thing that I think everyone in Washington is, as we said at the start of the show, is starting to agree on is that cap and trade is dead. So if not cap and trade, then what? What do you see coming that can tap this populist change that you say is maybe out there?
Well, there's a very innovative approach, and it has been introduced as a bill in the Senate. It's called the CLEAR Act, and it's bipartisan. It's sponsored by Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington State and Senator Collins of Maine, the Republican. One's a Democrat, one's a Republican, and they've put forth a very simple bill, 39 pages long. In fact, it only goes on to about 7 lines of the 39th page. And it says, we're going to deal with global warming just by putting a cap on where greenhouse gases come into the economy. It's only a couple thousand places. It doesn't require that much complexity. It's oil drilling, oil imports, gas drilling, gas imports, coal mining, those sources. And you say, here's the cap. We can't emit more than this amount of CO2. The government puts a cap on it. The cap gets tighter every year. And then the government sells permits to those entities to allow them to bring that much greenhouse gas into the economy. Their costs go up. They're going to have to pass those costs on to us. We need them to pass those costs on to us. That'll make us drive less, carpool, turn our thermostats to the appropriate number. But when the government auctions off all those permits, the auction, that will raise billions of dollars. What that means is every year, every American with a Social Security number will get a dividend check. So that's why this approach is called cap and dividend. So if you actually conserve, you'll come out ahead financially. So this is a brilliant way to deal with, to make it very simple, to reward Americans, to compensate them for this extra squeeze they're going to feel, and to give the right incentives to the economy to retool our economy to a low carbon approach.
Well,